a hell of a week.
Yes, hell of a couple weeks.
Yes.
We missed you guys.
We did.
Hope you missed us.
Probably didn't, but...
Probably didn't.
We're back. Yeah. So today we're going to be discussing anxiety. And
Anxiety.
Anxiety, and that's the T. We're drowning in it.
Literally.
Yeah, so anxiety has always been pretty prevalent in our lives. I would say that right before the show we were discussing when we discovered we had anxiety, and it was around college age 20.
Right. When we recognized that it was anxiety. We've
Yes.
experienced
When you
it
put a name
prior.
Yes.
Since we were young.
Since children, whether it be dreams or reality or experiences, anxiety's always been part of
Yeah,
life.
Now that you just said dreams, when I was younger, I couldn't sleep at night.
Yeah, same. I would cry myself to sleep so I could feel tired enough to fall asleep.
And I'm like, was that
Actually,
anxiety?
super sad.
My mom would have to come in and help me fall asleep, literally scratch my back or play with my hair because
That's cute.
I was so
That's actually really cute.
And then if she didn't come in, I would freak out and I would scream for her. Which, when we talked about in our first podcast, about our first ever podcast, the anxiety. What was it?
Attachment styles.
Attachment styles, yeah.
So anxiously attached.
Anxiously attached.
That was me.
And then,
but not anymore.
Not to get all sad, but when my parents got divorced and my mom left, I couldn't sleep for a really long time. But I'm just thinking back now, it was anxiety.
For sure.
That's so crazy.
It's also a huge change in a child's life. And children they need stability and consistency.
100%.
And that's not the cards that were dealt.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, sorry. Just as a little side note.
Anyway.
So, we wanted to kind of shed a light on all mental illnesses, but we've only experienced anxiety.
We're going to speak to the ones that we know.
Right, and maybe a little bit of depression.
Yeah,
but,
happy podcast day. Yeah.
I mean, these things, it doesn't always have to be so
rainbows
depressing.
And butterflies.
Well, well, either or. But I'm just saying, it's just real life stuff. And just because you have anxiety doesn't mean you are constantly just a wreck and can't live your life normal. People have anxiety and have normal lives. It's not like we're
yes.
It's not like we're broken or anything. So we'll talk about that.
Nope. Yes. So, do you want to go first on that? On anxiety, or do you want me to go?
So to get started, should we?
Let's
if
go
you
over
don't,
what anxiety is.
If you don't know what anxiety is, or if you've heard of it but you're not quite sure, chances are you have anxiety. Everyone I think has anxiety. It's just levels to this shit.
Definitely.
And how there's good good stresses and bad stresses. I think sometimes
everyone
it's normal.
has anxiety. Anxiety is part of life. It's a great motivator. It prompts you to do things and get shit done. But when it becomes crippling is when anxiety is an issue.
Yes.
And I didn't experience crippling anxiety until high school. And then it got much, much worse when I was improperly medicated in college. And also in high school. So, wrong diagnosis. And I wasn't seeing a therapist. It was my pediatrician who gave me Adderall and oh, you can't focus, here's Adderall.
I guess
they
do give kids Adderall.
Yeah, I was on it for 6 years and my anxiety just got so bad. I was losing weight and taking more Adderall and it was a mess. So definitely go to an actual therapist that you resonate with before you go on medication.
Yeah.
But yeah, medication can definitely work. This just wasn't the right fit.
So, kind of explaining what anxiety is.
Yes.
It's definitely related to, I guess it would be similar to stress in a way that's kind of what causes it or can cause it.
So how do you feel when you're anxious?
Oh gosh. So I have different kinds of anxieties. It could just be something as little as of overthinking something and I know I'm stressed about something and I'm okay, how am I gonna fix this problem? How am I going to deal with it? What should I do next? What's the plan? Like, there's always like a questionnaire that goes off in my mind. Like, how am I going to just stop this and figure it out and before it gets too bad? And that's like a normal everyday thing that I go through. I don't even think about it at this point because I'm always kind of overthinking things. Like, that's just how I am. And when you have anxiety, that's, you know, that's just what you do.
Yes.
And then there's also like she was saying, crippling anxiety and leading to like panic attacks and anxiety attacks. And lucky for me, I just had one yesterday. It's been as worse as, you know, I was working in a restaurant when I was about, I think it was like 18, I was 18 or 19. And I was a server, and I got just overwhelmed in general, because if you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, or very overwhelming.
Mad respect.
Yeah, and it's like busy, and it's just, and I had a panic attack, and I literally had to get taken to the hospital on a stretcher. They came into the restaurant through the kitchen and put me on the stretcher. And I didn't know like what this was. I was like, this was before I was actually diagnosed. I don't know why I did this. Before I actually knew that it was anxiety, so I thought I was having a heart attack or I was dying.
Right, because your chest gets tight,
Mm-hmm.
your heart's pounding.
For me, my throat closes.
Mine too. You can't breathe, like.
Yeah.
And
so they had to like get my inhaler to help me breathe.
And sometimes your mind races to the point where like you just like black out, like freeze.
It was very embarrassing. But yeah, so it can be as extreme as that, or just
it could ruin your night.
Yeah, and you're just thinking about the same thing.
So we were talking before the show about loops. So like whenever I have a very active mind, as most people do with anxiety, also depression. I get into, you know, a loop. It looks like I have a lot of other things going on. Like I'd be worried about a job or relationship or friendship, and then I fixate on things that I can control because it's natural. It's
you have anxiety. You want to control.
You want to control what's going to happen, but I can't control these things. So I will fixate on other things, which is like why I had a food issue, because I can control what goes in your body.
Yep.
So that was a recent therapy discussion. So I was glad I got to figure that out.
Yeah, a lot of those things, like, I didn't even think about the control issue, because I think I talked about that before, like I like to be in control.
I get that.
Not like control other people.
No.
But in my life.
Yourself.
Yes, I like to have
and like you want
everything in
things.
order.
Like I want
life doesn't work like that. So that's why it's even harder.
Like I want certain things in my life, right? You have
Yeah.
certain goals that you want to attain, and whenever that's not happening at the pace or at like the level that you want, like I used to have like severe panic attacks like several times a year because of it.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, "What are these invisible like milestones that you're trying to attain?"
That's really what it is. It seems like it's really nothing that you're freaking out about.
Yeah, it's nothing, but it's everything.
It is, and I think people who don't understand anxiety, or maybe don't have it as severe as it's hard to like understand even and kind of relate to it,
because people don't know what to say to you. Like I mean,
and it's okay. I mean, I don't expect you to say anything.
You don't have to say the perfect
I just
things.
want you to understand that if I am having, you know, an anxiety attack, or I'm anxious, or I'm having a panic attack, just be there for me.
Be there.
You don't need to
like,
oh my goodness, one of the things I cannot stand, and like I have people who are trying to support me and be there for me, and they're like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. The thing is, when you're in that anxiety stage and you're in that panic, you telling me, oh, it's gonna be okay, and this is just for me, this is so hard for me to hear. I can't hear that, because I'm like this.
Yeah, like
you telling me, oh, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay. I'm like,
and the fact
you don't understand how I feel right
now.
now.
Not everything is going to be okay.
Yeah,
like
it's not sunshine and freaking rainbows.
The problem is, not everything's going to be okay all the time.
Yeah.
So how are you going to deal with that? That's the question.
Yeah.
So like, the anxiety leading up to the problem is what is that anxiety doing for you? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, why am I fixating?
Right.
But it's just developing coping mechanisms for yourself, so then you can deal with the shit that
Finding
happens.
a way out.
And I think that anxiety prepares you, but at what point is it detrimental to your own mental health? Like, sometimes it is, and then the thing that you're worried about doesn't even happen.
Right.
Or you're not worried about it, and then something happens, and you can deal with it a lot better because you're not constantly going in these rabbit holes of, like, what might happen.
And it is, like, you totally get lost in your own mind, for sure. And I have to constantly remind myself if I am starting to feel that way. Because sometimes anxiety creeps up when you don't even realize it.
Oh, my gosh.
And like I was saying, I was just telling her before the show that yesterday I was working, and I work from home, so I'm not doing anything like very hard. I'm just working from home. I'm on a computer talking to people, and all of a sudden I like took a breath and I couldn't breathe. I was like, this is weird. This is weird. I was like, what's going on? I had to like take like 10 minutes to step away and like just relax, because I'm like, what's going on with me? And of course, don't Google anything, because I'm like, oh my god, I'm having a heart attack. I have angina. Like, I was like freaking out, but I just caught my breath,
WebMD is the worst thing for anxiety.
It really is. But so I was like, okay, it's just anxiety. It's like when you have anxiety, you forget you have anxiety, and you think it's other things because you have anxiety. Like, you think it's other things.
That is so crazy when you say that.
It's true. Like, it's like you know what it is,
that's
but you're like, maybe it's something else.
To pinpoint whenever you're growing up, and like, this wasn't like a huge thing.
And when we were kids, like when we were kids and younger, our parents are like, you don't have like
chill the fuck out.
There was no like for me
not
anywhere.
For me.
Yeah, like it
my
was
parents
just
like, you're dramatic as fuck.
Exactly. You're so dramatic. You need to calm the fuck down.
Yes.
And you're just like, okay, I guess I'm fine.
You're like,
and then you grow up and you're like this.
You're like shaking and crying.
Shaking and crying. You're like convulsing. You're like, oh, you're fine. You just have a cold.
So what has helped?
Okay.
She's just dramatic.
Right. I love my parents now.
No, I'm not blaming them by any means.
It's just
they
funny.
Didn't know.
Well, yeah, they didn't know. It wasn't like a common thing.
It's
like
just,
now, I talk to my mom about it all the time, and she's like, oh yeah, you have anxiety. Like, it's funny because she knows now, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. Like,
my mom gets upset because she's like, I don't know how to help you a lot of the time, and it's like, but I don't look at it like that. I think that she does help me because
for sure.
Talking to my mom, I feel better.
Exactly.
There's something about moms.
They just know. It's the mother intuition. They just know.
They do
what to say and what you need, and that it's just
they do.
The maternal instincts are amazing. Women
are
amazing.
I know, they really are.
They
really are. I love women. Okay, so.
But yeah, so that's what anxiety is.
That's what anxiety is. Sorry, we went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
wow, my heart is pounding.
Same.
Okay.
I'm actually a little anxious right
Me
now.
too.
Thinking about this. On the way here, I was like, how am I going to talk about this without breaking down? Because there's good and bad things. We'll get through it. We're fine. Okay.
You're fine.
So also,
You're fine.
So also,
everything's fine.
Gosh, this is like a very ironic topic.
It is.
So now that you kind of know what anxiety is, if you didn't know before, how do you know if you have it, or how do you acknowledge it?
So for me, it got to a point of I started getting really depressed. I wasn't happy in my work situation. I wasn't happy in my life. Generally speaking, with relationship and work. And whenever that happens, you can't be happy at work. You can't be happy at home. So you're just. I remember sitting. It was a Saturday, and I had like an art yoga class that I was going to, and like typically that would have made me really excited and happy. Yeah. And I remember staring out into space like I feel so hopeless. Like, what's the point? And like I'm like, damn, I need to see somebody. Like I need to see someone. And my therapist at the time was terrible and like told me I was bipolar. So it was like, hi, like this isn't the case. I mean, nothing against bipolar, but like, I'm sorry, that's just not my symptoms.
Yeah.
So I went and saw somebody else, and then she said, she was like pretty upset by that. She's like, you should not be giving soft diagnoses after like 5 sessions.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, it was intense, and like that really didn't help my anxiety.
And then you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm bipolar too? Like, because you're thinking that you have this and you don't even have it. But now
like who knows? I'm a moody bitch. Maybe I am bipolar.
Right.
But
it's a lot
the
to
vast
handle
majority
in that
of
short amount of time.
The vast majority of my struggle is anxiety. Whether anything else is lingering or not, there's not enough studies done on mental health, in my opinion. Especially with women. And then does hormones correlate with that? Does the hormones we take correlate with that? These are all things that...
I probably would say yes.
So, I mean, these are all things that...
Birth control.
Yeah. I actually noticed a significant difference when I was off birth control.
Do you feel that you had less control?
I had more energy and I was less stressed. Yeah.
See, there's the pros and cons of the birth control.
But having a child is way more stressful. So.
Yeah, that's so true. So, you're like, okay, I'll deal with it.
I guess I'll just deal with it.
And everyone else can deal with my attitude too. Only when I'm on the birth control.
They'll figure it out.
Sorry.
Yeah, but weed has helped me a lot. So,
marijuana.
Marijuana has helped me a lot.
Didn't know we were getting into this. I'm excited.
So, like we were saying earlier, always had trouble sleeping.
Yep.
Would cry myself to sleep just to get my eyes tired to fall asleep. Now
Sounds great. That's like really sad. Like, I mean,
I would think of something
same.
really
I was
sad.
a psychopath. I could not sleep.
me and my blankie, like.
Yeah, like you're just like, we'll fall asleep soon.
Yikes. So embarrassing. But yeah.
Laugh at your pain. That's what Kevin Hart says.
It is very painful.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of things could have jump-started anxiety, like from childhood and just like experiences.
Oh, it goes back.
It goes back, or it just could be genetics. I mean, it could be a combination of the two. So I found that weed helps me a lot because I don't smoke during the day. I will grab a hit of my pen at night and like pass out, and that's been the best thing for me to sleep. Like otherwise I can.
Is that the one that has the CBD in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect combination.
Yes.
A little bit of THC, a little bit of CBD.
And if you're a Pittsburgh native or you are an implant, Hippie and French, awesome place. Like
that's where the CBD.
Love them.
I think we have quite a few, but yeah.
Yes. Great.
Good one.
It's really cute though.
Super cute.
Yeah. So
okay, marijuana. So we're in Pennsylvania, obviously, and for those
it's
of you
medically
who don't know,
legal.
It's medically legal. So
I have a card. So
yeah.
Even if you don't though, still try it.
And then did you get that through your therapist?
I got it.
Or did you
I
have
got
to go
the diagnosis through my therapist, and you have to show your therapist letterhead and diagnosis to whatever dispensary you decide to go to.
Right.
And then you pay the dispensary and the state in cash.
And does insurance like cover some of that, or how does that work?
No, since it's still federally illegal.
Okay.
Not.
So it's a little bit more expensive right now. Well,
but it
for
helps.
those of us who have anxiety.
Sometimes it makes it worse. Sometimes weed definitely makes it worse.
I think that's why I think the medical helps because you know what you're actually smoking.
And also, once you become educated on what works for your body, it's a lot easier to determine. Like sativa, like in hybrids, like that's like it might not work for me. Like I'm an indica person. I like to just be super chill.
Yeah. And that's how I am.
Because I don't need the energy.
Because and then you can also. I feel like I get a little anxious if I'm
anxious.
If I were to be high from like
I don't
this
need
sativa.
a stimulant.
Yeah.
I'm already stimulated.
Yeah.
I'm good.
That's a good point.
That's helped a lot.
And
with sleep.
And it's an alternative to medication, like the pharmaceutical.
Yeah, I've never had to take an anxiety medication, although I probably should have at some point.
Yeah.
But
I can talk about that though.
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
Okay. So we have the medical marijuana about that. But I didn't know either that I had anxiety until I got older. Because even when that whole panic attack thing happened when I was working, they didn't say anything like in the hospital. Like that I remember they weren't like, oh you. I think they just were like you had you had a panic attack, but they weren't like, oh you have anxiety.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't say that I had anxiety.
Did they have like an in-house therapist? Like
I didn't get no one.
There's
came
not
and talked
enough
to me.
of a focus on this.
No one came and talked to me at all. They were just like, oh you didn't have a heart attack, so you're fine. You know what I mean? Like it was more just like nothing physically is going on in here. It's all mental, and I think that's why obviously mental health like needs to be.
Yeah, there needs to be a focus on
it needs to be definitely like talked about because it's just sad.
This like is a domino effect for so many things.
Yeah.
Like mental health generally, aside from anxiety, like we need to focus on this. I mean,
right. It's not just anxiety. We're just speaking on what we have like, personally experienced.
Bad. Like there should be way more of a focus on it. I mean,
wait,
so in my high school, we had 2 counselors, and one was incredibly helpful and like really truly.
I actually did get. My high school counselor was the only counselor I've ever experienced, and it was the greatest. Because I don't go to therapy, so that was like.
Yeah, it made me want to get into psychology.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
I tried. I failed. It's actually a lot harder than you think it is.
I took a couple classes.
Like talking about like in college, Psych 101. Super interesting. So into it.
It is. It's very complex.
Just couldn't comprehend it almost at some point. Like
I was
totally. Like, oh my gosh, I thought that I would like breeze through this class.
I was better at like economics for some reason.
I was so good at economics.
I was really good, especially macro. Anyway.
Oh, but what I wanted to say about we literally get lost in our brains.
Sauce?
We get lost in the sauce. There's a slippery slope. Anyway, so before I knew I had anxiety, I took another, basically like panic attack. I went to, I think I just was going for like an annual checkup at my doctor's. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was just like an annual checkup. And I was discussing with my doctor, like, kind of like, I was like, I think there might be something wrong, like, with me. I'm not really sure what it is. And as I'm like speaking about it, I like had a panic attack and a breakdown. And I was like hyperventilating. And she's like, does this happen a lot? And I was like, I'm like trying to catch my breath. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
I hyperventilate a lot.
I didn't even know how to explain it, what was going on. Instead, because I couldn't explain it, I had a panic attack. Like that's literally what anxiety is.
Yes.
And she was like, okay, like I'm gonna give you something to help you. So she did give me like medication or whatever. And I was like, okay, I guess like I'll take this. And I literally took it for one day and I didn't take it again because it freaked me out. I didn't even give it a chance because I was like, I don't want to be on medication. Like I don't want anything to be wrong with me.
There is such a stigma with medication.
And I should have probably just taken it. And now I still have anxiety.
But whenever you try the holistic stuff, if you're trying breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, things that calm and center you back to the core, and that's still not working, like
sometimes you need a little bit more.
Speaking from personal experience, sometimes you need something else. Like talk therapy helps a lot for me.
See, I think that would help me more when it's something like that than taking a medication.
And like getting a therapist that actually challenges you. Like my therapist would be like, and why is that? Like, and is that fair? And things that make me actually think. She's like, so how does that make you feel?
The typical therapist.
But like when you really dig deep into the behind the surface layer of like, okay, my palms are sweating. I feel super nervous.
Oh, sweaty.
Knees weak.
Sorry. Oh my god.
Vomit on the sweater already.
We have to have some kind of like heart sickness in this because it's such a serious thing.
But yeah, like just digging a little deeper. I just think the combination of Eastern and Western like wellness and medicine is incredibly helpful, and like it has increased my quality of life and my mental state astronomically. So if you try it, even just meditation for like a couple minutes a day, very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And
talk therapy.
Yeah, that's
even if it's talking to a friend.
Right, and that's what I like. It's not, you don't always have to just feel like you need to go to a therapist because some people just aren't good at talking to strangers.
And
sometimes it can be easier.
Don't have benefits.
I don't even have health insurance right now. It takes like at least I think 3 to 6 months when you are in your job to get health insurance.
Depends on the job.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like mine, for example, is like I think it's only 3. I'm hoping it's only 3 because I keep asking, like, hey, I need health insurance.
That's actually crazy.
Because I was unemployed, so I haven't had it. I haven't been to the doctor in like
I'll
a year.
I'll be off of, I need insurance.
And I'm
I'll
26,
be off for
so
a month. So I won't be able to see my therapist. And my therapist might not take my health insurance. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because there's things like this, you might not be able to even go to a therapist or afford it.
And
or
then
whatever
your
the case
therapist
may be.
that actually works is like, oh, might not be able to see.
Yeah. So, yeah. You know, you can talk to your friends and family too, just like talking about it in general, talking out loud about it. That importance of acknowledging, we always use that word, but it's so important because when you acknowledge something and are aware of it,
it's the first step.
It's the first step. That's
to
kind of like
yourself.
It's kind of like when you're like getting out of the denial. Like, okay, I have this problem. It is okay. And what do I need to do to live with this and
then you move forward.
Work with it the best way I can.
Yes.
So, a lot of you, I would say, because a lot of us, like the human population in general, have anxiety.
Yeah.
Especially
everyone has a layer of anxiety.
Especially now. Yeah. Like, you can't even leave the house without thinking, COVID, COVID, COVID. I need to wear a mask. I can't touch anything. Like, that's a good question, actually. How do you think COVID has affected your anxiety?
At first, I think like many people, I actually felt a calmness because my intuition was totally wrong about this, but I wasn't super worried about COVID in the beginning. And then everyone's like up in arms, like crazy anxious, and I was like, oh, now everyone knows what it's like.
Yeah, everyone got a taste of it for sure.
Yeah, and then I started to get really anxious because I was in a weird situation with like a relationship, and like you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, you're literally
so
just with each other all the time.
But I think it expedited and bubbled a lot of things up to the surface that wouldn't have came so quickly.
I was gonna say, but you probably like realized a lot of things because you didn't have a choice but to.
This
you couldn't avoid it.
I have grown more than ever. I have become the person that my like 15-year-old self would be very proud of.
Me freaking too. Yeah. Cheers to us for real. Because that is some real. Yeah. That's some real tea right there.
Weed tea, anxiety.
It only took 26 years, but it's okay. That's really not bad. And we're still growing and learning. So
we're still growing and learning.
But yeah, same for me. Like it definitely made me think hard and
long and hard
about what really was the point of my life.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm just you didn't have anything else to do but sit in your house and basically think all day.
And so many people have gotten sick and or passed. It makes you think like, okay, why am I here? Like I'm here for something in
my life.
We're all here for something. Mm-hmm. So just determining your purpose and going forward with that, it's really powerful.
It really is. Finally kind of accepting who you are and being happy with that person. You know, at times, obviously, you probably don't love yourself as much as you should, and that's normal, unfortunately. It should happen sometimes.
It's also February in Pennsylvania, and like, it's a rough time.
High seasonal depression for Pennsylvanians.
Yeah, and
especially
like,
in Pittsburgh.
And like, you're pale and like,
oh my god, it's so sad.
I keep going out to eat and like.
There's literally nothing to do though right now. I mean, not only is it COVID, but it's cold. And what do we normally do anyway in the winter here?
Drink.
Nothing. Yes, that's it. Unless you're like a skier. God bless your heart, but I'm good at that.
I'll be in the lodge.
Yeah, I'll be at the bar.
Or at the spa.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just, yeah.
So that's the anxiety.
That's the anxiety. And you are not alone. You are not broken because you have anxiety. It's way more normal than you think it is, I think.
Yes.
And for those of you who maybe don't experience it as rough as others,
that's okay. There's a spectrum.
Yeah, that's fine. Just be aware and acknowledge, other people's feelings who do suffer with, intense anxiety. and just know that we just want support. We don't
and
need you to have the answers or...
And bringing back to breath. Like, if someone you know is struggling with anxiety, look at them, calm them by, like, touching
breath
them.
Breath is everything. And
breath,
like,
like, when someone touches me, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then, yes, bringing attention back to the breath, because hyperventilation is very, very adamant with my anxiety, at least.
Yep.
And
I have to go, like, literally fill my chest.
So breath work has been integral in, like, noticing when I'm getting anxious. I'm like, oh, my breathing's so shallow.
I can't, my throat is closing,
so
I think I'm getting
whether you have it
anxiety.
Or know somebody who deals with it, lives with someone who deals with it, the breath is so important. Same with just making that person aware that you are there and, like, we are going to get through this.
Yep.
Like, because sometimes not everything is going to be okay, and, like, it's just how we deal with it.
Yeah.
We're going to get out on the other side regardless. Because you are stronger than anything. Like, more, I don't know. I found so much strength within myself the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's like you surprise yourself it's like when you're pushing yourself to your limits, you really can see what you're actually capable of. And I think that's important too, because just because you have whatever it may be, whether it is anxiety or depression or bipolar, whatever it is, you know, you just waking up every day and deciding, okay, I'm just going to do the best I can today. I'm going to live my life. I'm proud of who I am because I'm doing my best. That, you know, you can see, like, oh wow, like I really am stronger and more capable than maybe what other people made you feel, or
how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, and like we're the worst critics on ourselves.
Oh my god.
So
I'm so mean to myself.
So mean.
So mean.
It's sad sometimes, but
I know.
We have to remember, you know, we're not perfect. So.
But also think about, I have trouble reflecting back about my progress. Like, I'm just so, like, keep going. I, like, forget about what I've
how far you've come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's important, too. Yeah, definitely reflecting on how you became the person you are.
Yes.
And where you are in your life. Because when you go back and look at those things, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, I went from teaching yoga at an IUP gym to, like, teaching professional athletes in a private class. Like, or teaching a class of 50 people in Market Square. Like, look back at all of the things you've gone through if you have the anxiety that's, like, goal-oriented, because you really are so powerful and so successful in so many ways, and, like, just because you can't see that right off the bat, or, like, sometimes you just get trapped in your own mind, come back to yourself, find a point on your body that you can just fully, like, submit to. So, like, mine's my chest. I'm like, I put my hand on my heart, and I'm like, okay, everything's okay. So centering yourself.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, like feeling your heartbeat is, like, a real thing.
Oh my god.
I was, like, listening to another podcast, actually, I think, and one of the helpful things was, and it doesn't even have to be for anxiety, it's just, like, listening to your body kind of thing. If you put your hand on your heart, or just like, anywhere where you feel a pulse, and
your
just,
wrist.
like, actually closing your eyes, feeling it, like, connects you to your body.
Oh my god.
Because your body's, like, amazing. And we talked about this before.
It is amazing. And so is your intuition.
Like, you are literally living through your heartbeat.
Yes.
Like, it's pumping blood in and out. Like, you're getting oxygen. Like, it's just crazy how, like...
And then also falling in love. Like, that's all heart. Like,
yes.
I never understood
connects.
that.
It just connects to everything.
It all does connect. Yes. Placing your hand on your heart or your belly or somewhere where you can feel your breath or your heartbeat is so helpful.
Yeah.
And determining the difference between anxiety and intuition. Like, I'm a highly intuitive person. I'm sure you are too.
Yep.
And so noticing, like, okay, is this my intuition telling me something's going to happen, or is it anxiety? And, like, that will take a long time.
Right, because it's like following your heart or your gut with those things. And when you have anxiety, it's hard. It's hard to decipher.
My gut is anxiety. My heart is truth.
And it's hard to decipher.
Wow, that was
the two.
so corny. I'm so sorry, but it's true.
No, but it is true. It is true,
My heart is
especially
true.
if you have.
Especially
if you
I'm
have.
such a douchebag.
There you go. But yeah, no, you're right though.
Okay.
Like if you have anxiety,
Yeah.
it is hard to like
It's
tell.
true,
Like,
it's hard
am I following this because I'm listening to my anxious side?
My anxious ass head. Oh, and a great book recommendation. The Untethered Soul. That brought me so much clarity with like the voices that go on in my head. And like how to determine, is it me or is it, Lynette on my right shoulder being a fucking bitch?
Lynette?
I just made that up now.
Sounds like a bitch.
She's
Sorry
a
if her
bitch.
name's Lynette.
She's super anxious and she won't leave me alone.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so I mean, a lot of soul searching in the last year.
That's what it comes down to.
Which does give some anxiety. But it also, the only way to get through is to work through it. Allow it
because
to
there's
pass.
always going to be that unknown. You just don't know.
Allow it to wash over you.
What's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the best advice for trying to navigate with this anxiety is just reminding yourself that the anxiety will not kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It won't. If you let it control you, it might.
And sometimes you have no choice and it does control you.
Yeah.
But then what are you going to do about it?
Right. Because I'm not saying that I have control over it because I don't. I had a panic attack yesterday for no reason. I was sitting there typing. But once I realized and like caught my breath, I'm like, okay, like I need to regain my composure, take back my soul and body.
Yeah.
And
because sometimes it is okay to
tell
feel
Lynette
it.
to fuck off.
Yeah, Lynette, fuck off. Sorry to all the Lynette.
I know, right? You will get through it. You will. And I know I hate when people tell me, "Oh, you'll be okay." Yeah, I will eventually. It's here and there. But like you said, like just like the touching, like helping,
the touching
the
helps
breathing.
so much. Just like hand on the back or on the shoulders, like chill, chilly.
Yep. You just being like,
but don't
you'll
actually
be fine.
don't actually tell me to chill or like
Exactly.
everything's gonna be okay.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
not everything's
That's what I
gonna
mean.
be okay.
That's what I mean.
I'm sorry, not everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
That's not life.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's not. We're not trying to be like negative Nancy's about it.
No, but that's reality.
It's just
reality.
Reality for the anxiety.
Yes, that's life.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for joining. We have some interesting topic ideas.
Yeah, we do.
I think we're gonna do a poll on our personal Instagrams.
Okay.
And see what you guys want to hear about.
Yeah, and I think we want to do like a Q&A in general because it's kind of like, okay, let's get to know you on what you think about this kind of stuff without it being a whole podcast.
Yeah.
Because we can answer different questions, whether it be what's your favorite food to like some deep questions. Like you can ask us anything, we don't care.
Yeah.
But we'll do some topics. You guys pick what you want to hear next. We'll try to work that out because we want to get some guests as well again.
Yes.
And just Q&As about us in general so you can get to know us if you don't already know us.
Amen. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that was your dose of sweet, sweet anxiety on HB Reality.
Love it. Cheers.